Hey guys, Abby here and welcome back to another Destiny 2 video. In this video, we're talking all about WARMIND CELL builds, the armor mods, the weapons, how to use them effectively on any class. But before we get started, if you enjoy Destiny 2 guides like this, hit that subscribe button or become a member for additional perks. If you're interested in an energy drink with clean ingredients and no fillers, you can also support the channel by using code ABBY for 10% off at gamersubs.com. WARMIND cells were introduced in March 2020 with Season 10, Season of the Worthy, and if you're a new player, you may have noticed some of these armor mods in Banshee's daily mod rotation. Currently, this is the only way to acquire them now that Season 10 is over, so it's always a good practice to check in daily with the gunsmith and pick up any mods you don't own. To see the mods you already own, you can take a look at the collection book tab under combat style armor mods. This will show you the WARMIND cell mods as well as charged with light mods. If you want to know more about charged with light mods and how they work, you can check out my previous video where I go into detail about those builds. But back to WARMIND cells, the most basic way to explain WARMIND cell builds is this: WARMIND armor mods in the combat mod or legacy mod slot paired with 7 seraph weapons, ikelos weapons, or solar splash damage if you're running a certain WARMIND cell mod will generate WARMIND cells which look like this. It may seem like WARMIND cells drop at random, but there's actually a method to the madness. Each enemy killed contributes a percentage towards the WARMIND cell proc. So red bar enemies are about 15%, yellow bar enemies 25%, and yellow elites or named enemies are 100%. So every 7 red bar enemies, 4 yellow bars, or 1 elite will proc a WARMIND cell to drop. The primary purpose of a WARMIND cell is to destroy it near enemies to damage them. Anyone can destroy them, even if you don't have the armor mods equipped. However, using specific armor mods will increase the effectiveness and the utility of the cells. You can even change the function of the cells themselves. WARMIND cells are amazing for any PvE content, whether you're running solo lost sectors, dungeons, nightfalls, the raids, even Gambit. However, they do not work against other guardians. Now that you understand the basics, here's a list of weapons you can use to create WARMIND cells as long as you have at least one WARMIND armor mod equipped. Most of these are now world drops, which means you can get them from vendor rank up packages as well. The ikelos, shotgun, and pistol are exclusive to the Prophecy dungeon. Next, let's take a look at the armor mods that we're going to be pairing with these weapons. You can see from my collection book that most of the mods require a specific armor energy affinity, arc, solar, or void, but there's one neutral mod right here that only costs 1 energy and is possibly the best WARMIND cell mod that you can equip. Global Reach allows your WARMIND cell to affect and damage targets at a greater distance. If you're utilizing WARMIND cells, run this mod on your armor. It's easy enough to slot for 1 energy and it will turn your WARMIND cell explosion into a mini nuke. As far as the other mods go in the armor section, there are a lot of different ways you could build out a WARMIND cell build. Normally, I also pair it with some charged with light, so I have kind of a hybrid build going on, but I'll point out some of my favorite WARMIND cell mods in addition to Global Reach. We've got Power of Rasputin here, which is a +4 void energy cost, and this mod is going to give you a bonus to weapon damage against enemies that are near WARMIND cells, so you could leave the WARMIND cell sitting on the ground and damage the enemies with your weapons. WARMIND's Protection is also an amazing mod. I use this on the day 1 raid when we are a little bit under leveled. You're going to be taking reduced damage from enemies that are near WARMIND cells, and it only costs 2 energy, so not that big of a cost. Cellular Suppression is another void WARMIND cell mod. It's going to cost 4 energy and it actually creates a suppressing void energy whenever you damage the WARMIND cell. There's kind of a cooldown on it and you're going to be doing less damage to the WARMIND cells. This is something that you would bring to a fire team maybe. I wouldn't see using this solo, and personally I would rather just blow up the WARMIND cell and get the damage from it and keep it moving than have to sit there and shoot a WARMIND cell in order to suppress the enemies around it. And then Wrath of Rasputin is what I was mentioning earlier with the solar splash damage final blows having a chance to create WARMIND cells. Now you could do this this by using a weapon like Xenophage or Martyr's Retribution if you have that from the previous season, or you can use it on Hunter, Titan, and Warlock solar subclasses. So if you create a sunspot by defeating an enemy, that has a chance to create a Warmind cell, or if you just throw a solar grenade, it explodes some enemies, you may drop a Warmind cell. We've also got burning cells here, which is a +3 energy cost in the solar slot, and it's going to cause your Warmind cells to do solar energy, so it's going to cause the enemies to burn for several seconds, which is pretty good if you're going up against maybe a little bit tankier enemies where they're actually going to take some of that burn tick and they're not just going to die immediately from the Warmind cell explosion. There are also some like incinerating light, which is going to allow you to become charged with light by rapidly defeating multiple enemies with the explosion of a Warmind cell. So this is really good for a hybrid build between Warmind cells and charged with light. And then moving on to the arc ones, the arc Warmind cell mods are a little bit different. They're more like utility, creating a burst of arc energy around you, creating a concussive blast that pushes enemies away. But honestly, I haven't really used too many arc mods. Usually I leave my arc armor for charged with light mods. And I don't think these Arc Warmind mods really work as well as some of the Charged with Light mods like Reactive Pulse. And then lastly, we've got Grasp of the Warmind here, which is going to allow you to actually pick up, carry, and throw Warmind cells, which is hilarious, by the way. But once you throw them, you can't pick up that same cell again, but it's going to allow you to throw a Warmind cell or stick it to an enemy and then blow it up from there. So this kind of helps combat the issue of when you get a random Warmind cell at the end of clearing all the ads and you don't really need to destroy it because there's no more ads left. You can pick it up and bring it to the next area of ads. And that's basically it for the standout mods that I can think of for Warmind cells. And then one advanced tip for those of you that have stuck around in the video for this long, thank you by the way, but you can use weapons like Anarchy and Witherhoard that have damage over time to actually create Warmind cells by using those weapons and then swapping to your Seraph or Ikelos weapon. When you have it out, when the enemy dies from the Anarchy or the Witherhoard or whatever you've got going on, it's actually going to count towards the chance that a Warmind cell will drop. But basically, all you guys need to do in order to create an effective Warmind cell build is just pair one of those weapons that I showed you guys earlier, one or more of them, with Global Reach, which is a must-have for Warmind cell builds, and then something like maybe Warmind's Protection or Power of Rasputin, so you're doing more damage to enemies that are around the Warmind cells, or Wrath of Rasputin if you're running a solar subclass. And that's it, and I promise you guys it's going to be super, super powerful for those solo activities, for group activities, endgame activities, everything under the sun in Destiny 2. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. If you did, make sure to give it a like, leave a comment down below, let me know what is your favorite way to use Warmind cells, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.